Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mangastorian One Piece Reading Club. Long story short, I just got into One Piece about 6 months ago and we're doing an arc at a time and I'm making these videos giving you my reactions. I know nothing about One Piece outside of what I have read. All of this is brand new, which is actually something I want to talk about, but before we get to the probably boring part for most of you, let's talk about Long Ring, Long Island, and the Long Horse. I'm adding the last bit. It's only Long Ring, Long Island, but the Long Horse really stood out for me because it was such a sad horse. But okay, let's get into that, and then I'm going to explain something at the end of this whole thing for those of you who just enjoy the journey of us going through all of this. Now, this portion of the story is we just got out of Skypiea. We're dropped off. I was watching this on the show, and at the beginning, I watched the very beginning of this portion, and I was reading the manga at the same time, so I was kind of going back and forth. And I did find something funny, that apparently in the anime, there is the G8 arc involving a pirate fortress that is like a filler arc, which I'm going to watch separately at a later date, so I can kind of talk about that one, but it doesn't exist in the manga. And I found it very interesting, and I just wanted to talk about this little manga versus anime difference that I noticed right away. In the manga, the octopus sputters out and is gone. Now, I don't know what that octopus does with the Straw Hats in G8, but they seem like they really cared about that octopus in the anime. They're like, bye! I hope you have a great time! Thanks so much for saving us! And I'm like, the octopus saved you? The octopus literally dropped you out of the sky, and it was like 2 panels, and they just hit the water, and they're like, the octopus failed. Bye, octopus! And that was the end of that. So I don't know what happened in G8, but in the manga, that octopus does nothing. Maybe I'm gonna laugh so hard when I watch G8, and if I discover that he also does nothing in that, and they're just being friendly with him. But whatever. So the octopus drops him off, and they move forward to the next island. And this was another thing that I got a real kick out of in the manga, that they didn't know where the next piece of land was, and so Usopp and Luffy are shouting up to Robin. She's sitting up in the crow's nest, and Nico Robin responds, and she's like, hey, there's land up ahead. I've seen it for a while. And they just start freaking out. Like, Robin, you have to tell us when this is going on. You got to tell us when there's land. You say land ahoy. And she's like, oh, land ahoy. So I just found that funny. Robin's kind of growing on me now that we're learning more about her. I do find it a bit weird that she was introduced all the way back in Alabasta. And she's just kind of been along for the ride until towards the end of Skypiea when we discovered she knows more of what's going on. But Nico Robin's about to get more important because I'm about to get to that part and I'll talk about it when we get there. So anyway, we get to Long Ring, Long Island. And there's like super long animals, and I mean long. They're like long, I don't know, like long, like take taffy and stretch it out. So there's all kinds of like long cats, like I was watching the anime portion of this and the cat like reels up and comes down. I don't remember that in the manga, but sometimes the manga just doesn't hit right and then the anime makes it work better for me. But watching the anime alongside reading the mangas really helped with a lot of things that I think I was missing in the manga. Because sometimes, I won't lie, I'm reading the manga, we get to what's kind of a boring point, I get a little half zony out, ADD kicks in, somebody might ping me on my phone, I might respond, read a few panels, read it. It gets weird sometimes, so the anime's helping lock in a few things, so things that are standing out to me. But yeah, so the crew kind of explores the island. Luffy and Usopp run off, and Luffy and Usopp run off, and then the Foxy Pirates, what is their official name? I just kept calling them, Foxy Pirates. I just kept calling them the Foxy Pirates. Which, when they were introduced to the Foxy Pirates, I thought that meant that they were all going to be just foxy, like sexy pirates. And I was like, I don't care what happens in this arc. I'm probably really going to enjoy it. Then we met the captain, and he's just got like a weird fox head. I was disappointed. I won't lie. I was expecting more great bikini top artwork going on, and instead it was just a guy with fox ears. I mean, I wasn't like massively, I wasn't crying about it, but when you tell me we're going to meet the Foxy Pirates, I want to see the Foxy Pirates, not the Foxy Pirates. You know what I mean. Anyway, Luffy and Usopp, they head off. They go and out in there. The Foxy Pirates show up. They do this giant claw thing, trapping in the Go Merry. And from that, we then discover that there's one person left on this island. And he's an old man who is on these bamboo stilts. And he has apparently lived on these bamboo stilts for 10 years, doing nothing to survive except eat apples. Even Usopp in the story is like, that doesn't make sense. And I love that they just point out that it doesn't make sense that this guy survived for 10 years on these stilts because he was too scared to get down by eating apples. But we don't acknowledge like how it actually functioned. It's just, I survived on the stilts by, well, hold on, he's an old man. I survived on the stilts for 10 years eating apples. And Usopp's like, that doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. And that's it. We just leave it at that. Old man's down now. We meet the old man's horse, which is a long horse. And then the old man explains another thing that doesn't make sense. And the characters point this out. And we acknowledge that doesn't make sense. And we just move forward. And I'm actually loving this take on some of the insanity that is One Piece that doesn't make sense in the real world. And we just go, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, let's get to the story. Because now that we've told you what matters and what's going on, that's all that matters. We're moving on. So we move on to that, and the horse is introduced, and we find out that the old man was left behind. Long Ring Long Land is basically an island that is just one big ring of land, and when the tide goes down, the nomadic tribe moves from island to island. And he got left behind because he was stuck on his bamboo stilts. But his horse stayed behind for him. Even though I didn't see this part in the anime, but apparently it's very sad, or they chime it up to be sad. It was pretty sad in the manga, where you just see that the horse insisted on waiting for the old man, and the seasons rolled by, and the horse just stayed there. Shelly, or whatever the horse's name, she just stayed there for the old man. This series, one thing I've noticed is they really make you care about the animals, all the way back to the dog from that very first arc. The dog that was protecting the pet store still stays with me. That's one thing I gotta say about One Piece. The weirdest things are what stays with me. The animals and the way they're treated, the story about the snake and Skypiea is one of my favorite stories in the Skypiea arc. The dog protecting the pet store all the way back at the beginning. Like, the weirdest things stand out to me, and they're just sticking with me. And this doesn't change that. Like, the horse waited for 10 years for this old man to get down, and no one knew the old man was up on the stilts. And it was kind of heartwarming and touching, and I really enjoyed it. And then they ride off, and the horse gets shot. And I think I typed it to Kevin, because as you guys know who've been watching this series a little while, Kevin's our editor for this series. But I think I tied it, because I didn't know what was about to happen, and all I typed was something along the lines of the Foxy Pirates must die because they shot the horse. I'm trying to see if I can see my exact quote to him, but it's pretty far up here. Because we talk a lot about JoJo at the same time, because there's so many weird things going on that one right now. If you're wondering where I'm at on that one, just random tangent. Adval, I can't say his name now. That story's resolved. I'm not going to spoil it, but that story's been resolved. Resolved. I'm midway through season 3. Anyway, back to One Piece. So anyway, the Foxy Pirates shoot the horse, and we get to the point of... So the Foxy Pirates shoot the horse, and we're basically figuring out what the Foxy Pirates are there for. And they introduce a game in this universe, the Davey Back game. And they even explain what it means. Davy Jones, they explain that Davy Jones is a person who got cursed. He's living at the bottom of the sea. That's the pirate legend of the whole thing, which immediately my brain went, when are we going to meet Davy Jones? You've already established Blackbeard is a person in this universe. You've already established pirate lore, and now you're talking about Davy Jones. I want to read that chapter. Where's Davy Jones? And don't spoil it for me. All I'm going to say is we better meet Davy Jones at some point, and I know I'm going to be disappointed, but I really hope he looks like Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean. I know I'm going to be disappointed, so don't ruin that for me. Let me get disappointed for you. We discovered that they have the Davey Back game. And basically the concept is that one crew will challenge another crew to a series of games. If one crew wins, they get to pick a crew member or the sail off of the other ship. And so this is one way for crews to expand without attacking each other and killing each other. Like a fun way to do it. And the idea is that they challenge Luffy, and if he accepts the challenge, then they're going to do 3 games, and whoever wins can take a crew member from the other side. Now, at this point in the story, we've established that they're looking for a carpenter. So I started looking at the background characters to kind of figure out which one was going to join the crew. Spoiler, this whole thing is technically a spoiler if you haven't read it. No one joins the crew, and I was a little sad about that, but the story resolves in a good way. So we're going to break down each of these Davey Back games that end up happening and just what the overall reaction to it. Now, this started out really fun and really strong, where it was Robin, not Chopper. It was Robin, who were the first ones? Robin, Usopp, and Nami were on the donut race. And basically they had to build a boat and get around the island. But the Foxy Pirates had a shark on the team, so they were able to go much faster. Now, this is also when we get to know the captain a little bit better, because the captain was using their power to slow down time to mess with Robin and Nami. And Usopp, he was there too. I'm not trying to... You can tell who I like more, Robin and Nami, but whatever. They're all three of them. Now, it was pretty cool because I enjoyed the fact that they were trying to figure out how to win this, and Usopp was stepping up with the impact dial that they just got in Skypiea. So I'm assuming these dials are going to be sticking around for quite a while and be used until we get to like the next tier of powers or levels or whatever we're doing. But Usopp's like practically blowing his arm off his body to speed them up. And then Nami, proving that she's the better navigator, is able to get through like the tree/bamboo section that was causing like whirlpools and currents to go weird. And she was able to navigate through all of that. But the Foxy Pirates step up and cheated by using the slow power, I think is what they called it. I'll have to look into a little bit more, but we're just going to call it slow power because you know what I'm talking about. And I don't remember what he called it. So slow power. And he slows them down, and we discover that his Devil Fruit ability is to slow down time for 30 seconds around him. So you can do everything in that, and you won't feel the effects for 30 seconds. So he slowed them down at the finish line, completely messing with them. We then have Chopper crying because the Foxy Pirate captain chose Chopper to take to their team because Chopper's a medic. And Chopper's crying, and they stick a mask on him, and he's like, I only wanted to be a pirate for you guys. And I think it was Zoro's telling him to just man up and be a pirate, and he's just like, all right, I'll do it. Yeah, Zoro tells Chopper that he should not be crying, and as a man, he should sit back up and shut down. I do, as usual, have the rundown here so that I can fill in some of these gaps that my memory's missing out on. I'm reading too many things at once again, guys, but I'm loving it. I love reading. It's fun. Great hobby. You should do it sometime. Anyway. Anyway, we get to the point of Chopper is now being taken by the crew, and of course we got to go to the second game where obviously we're going to get Chopper back. And it's actually funny because that was my assumption. They're going to win the second game no matter what because we got to get Chopper back. And we're going to move into the third game where they'll get whoever this carpenter is. Reading it, that's what I thought was going to happen. And it generally kind of happens like that. They don't get the carpenter, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But they do go to the Groggy fight, which was awesome because Sanji and Zoro, two of my favorites, are teaming up against the opponents who are... They're down a person because Chopper was going to be in the Groggy fight. So they're fighting 3 different people. And Zoro and Sanji aren't working together. They're a bad team. And they're constantly getting beat and almost losing. And it's just a constant back and forth. The ref is obviously cheating again, ignoring the fact that the Groggy Pirates, well, the Foxy Pirates in the Groggy Ring are using weapons. And they're not supposed to. Which is why Zoro doesn't have his blades. The only thing I had a problem with this point, and I 100% understand why it happened the way it did. You, 1, need it to work for the plot, and 2, you need it to progress the plot. But once the Foxy Pirates are cheating, I was surprised Zoro and them also just didn't cheat. Because even Luffy was punching the referee, and they're trying to get him to pay attention, and I'm like, at this point, the Foxy Pirates aren't playing fair, so why don't you guys just beat up the Foxy Pirates and leave? Like, I get the whole pirate honor, and I understand exactly what they were talking about. Like, oh, if this is a bigger disgrace than losing a fight and blah, blah, blah. But they were obviously cheating. This wasn't like, oh, they were secretly cheating and only one character caught it. It was quite obvious that the Foxy Pirates intended to cheat to get to the ending. So I was surprised that they weren't just going to throw the game out at that point, get Chopper back, and get into a big fight. But we didn't. And eventually Sanji and Zoro team up together. And with their teamwork, they're able to overcome the Foxy Pirates even though they're cheating. Which was awesome because I love Sanji, I love Zoro, and they're always acting separate. So it was cool to see the two of them just admit that they should just work together to finish this, and then immediately afterwards start fighting again. I never thought of them as being antagonistic to each other, but it also made me realize Sanji and Zoro haven't directly interacted that much. Like, Sanji's there, Zoro's there, they're doing their own thing. I can't think of an incident before this where they directly interacted and had to work together and then fought against each other. Obviously, I've gone through 325 chapters at this point. There's probably something that I'm forgetting, but I couldn't think of it until this moment. So, That leads us to the last one. Oh, this resolves with them deciding to get Chopper back, but they brought up an interesting point. Because you had to predetermine your players in advance, what they could have done is chosen to recruit the Foxy Crew pirate captain with the slow ability. And if they did that, the Foxy Pirates automatically forfeit, and they would have gotten Chopper back as well. So all they had to do was say, hey, we're gonna recruit the captain, and then they couldn't fight, and they would have won. But the reason they chose not to do that and just took Chopper back is nobody wanted the Foxy Captain pirate guy on their team, which upset him, which is an awesome thing that they used to get through, like to push forward to fighting him, moving forward into this battle. So we get to the last battle. Foxy and Luffy are about to fight each other, and Usopp decides to be his ringman, which everyone questioned why he chose Usopp, but it made sense. Usopp puts an afro on Luffy, gets him like boxing shorts and then the boxing gloves, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a funny look we're going for here. And then the battle commences, and immediately the slow ability causes problems for Luffy, and they end up just kind of almost comically like a cartoon running around the Foxy pirate ship. And he's chasing him down, and Foxy's able to like change his appearance, and he's able to slow down time, and they go to like a spike room, and it's just constant, like, it almost made me think of like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, where they're just chasing each other constantly around, which I guess now that I'm thinking about it kind of makes sense if Foxy's supposed to be like a fox, and, you know, Luffy, I assume, with the afro is like the Roadrunner. That makes sense. It doesn't. But anyway, they go back and forth for a little while, end up beating Foxy, obviously. They tear him down a few more times by insulting his appearance and stuff like that, which really upsets him, which was just funny. And then they eventually get him caught up in his own slow beam, because basically during one of the battles, Luffy got pinned between Foxy and a mirror, broke the mirror, grabbed a piece of it, slow ability hits it, bounces back, slows Foxy, Luffy tears him up, game over, they win. And it was weird because he takes their flag and then gives them a fake one, and everyone makes fun of his hand drawing of the Foxy appearance, which was funny as well. And he brings it to the flag, and I was a little unclear exactly what he was doing it, but I believe it was being brought back for Shelly the horse to have something to bind to the wound and stuff like that. The only reason that this kind of made it a little weird for me is I was unclear what exactly they took, if they had a blank flag to take. But I'm sure I just missed a panel or something that explained that better, because he basically took their flag with their symbol to use it to help Shelly. Yeah, okay, so Luffy wins, takes Chopper, Robin, 497 members of the Foxy's crew, and their flag, leaving only 3 people. He dismisses the crew members that he won, and then they all run back to Foxy. Yeah, because he took the flag. So I guess taking the flag, that's where I'm confused. He took the flag. In the anime, Naname made a deal with Foxy that the winner would take 5 crew members, but he changes this to 500. Okay, so that didn't happen in the manga at all. In the manga, he just took the flag. So I guess the anime, that they take different things. I should probably watch that episode to verify. But I guess in the anime, Kingdom Hearts, whatever. Nami makes a deal with Foxy that the winner would take 5 crew members, but the Foxy chooses 500, expecting the Straw Hats to pay for this through their children, since they do not have that many. Thus, Luffy wins, taking Chopper, Robin, and 497 crew members of Foxy's crew and their flag. Okay, so I guess the anime does it a little different, and I guess they also lost Robin at some point. Doesn't happen in the manga at all. It's literally lose Chopper, gain Chopper, get the flag. That's all that happens. And then the Foxy Pirates leave, and they say that they'll get revenge at some point, or they'll come back at some point, but that's where that's left. He takes the flag and he wraps up Shelly, the horse. I believe that's what it was used for, but he brings it back to them. And then we meet, and I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. So they go back, they handle Shelly, they do all of that, and they meet that there's a sleeping man there. And this is Aokiji? Aokiji. I haven't seen this part in the anime yet, so I don't know how they pronounce this. We're going to go with Aokiji. I'm going to say it's the Aokiji, but we're going to call him the Admiral for the sake of this video, so that because I'm probably saying it wrong, you guys aren't all cringing for the next 5 minutes of our video. So anyway, the Admiral's there. He's one of the admirals from the Navy, like the big guys. Like he's one of 3. And Robin is terrified of him immediately. And he gets up and he says, I wanted to see where Robin was. She's going to betray you. She's a problem. You don't want her on her crew. And every crew she's been a part of has fallen apart or gotten arrested or disbanded. And so they start revealing a little bit about Robin through this Admiral guy. And that I was getting really involved. I was already interested because I loved the Foxy fight. I thought it was just a fun... For me, the Foxy, the Davey Back battle felt like good decompression. and it felt like we were getting back to One Piece. Skypiea was fun. I did enjoy it. I've already made my view on that different, like where I stated how I felt about that situation, where Skypiea did feel like they just kind of stumbled into something, and I get it was for world building, and I get what his point was. It just didn't feel like the previous 200 and something chapters at the time. This, even though it was quite obviously some form of filler in the manga or whatever, just felt like after Skypiea, let's get the crew back down and have them do like piratey kinds of things and still develop the One Piece world, but it was about the characters and Chopper's reactions and Luffy and how Nami can do well with Navi. It just felt more about the Straw Hats. But then we get to this part where they start like diving into a little bit more about Robin, and I kind of really dug that stuff. So this Admiral guy has the abilities of ice, and he seems friendly at first, and he offers to help the old man and Shelly by freezing the ocean so that they can catch up to their nomadic tribe. So cool, he seems friendly, he's gonna help out the civilians, no big deal. And while he's doing this, he's kind of talking trash about Robin and the crew Luffy's with and all these people and stuff like that. And it pretty much boils down to he decides, instead of being friendly and not attacking them, he's going to attack them. And the reason that comes to be is because Robin kind of opens up the attack on him, which has him retaliate, which has Luffy and all them jump in. What it boils down to is to prove his power, he straight up freezes Robin, just one block of ice. He then automatically like just dismisses half the crew, and then Luffy wants to go one-on-one with him, and Luffy gets frozen. So this guy is just insanely overpowered, and they don't even stand a chance. Like, there's not even a real fight going on in here. I don't know who this guy is outside of he's the Admiral, and I'm assuming we're going to get more information on what he's talking about with Robin, how powerful he is and what these other Admirals are, and what's going on with that. But it boils down to Luffy and him fight. He freezes Luffy. They bring Luffy and Robin to warm up in a hot bath to get them thawed out. Sanji and Zoro left the battle because Luffy wanted a one-on-one and they did not want to interrupt that, so they left, and that's what's going on. And then this Admiral hops on a bicycle that works on water, and he's just like, doo, 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 doo. I better go tell people what's happening. And I'm like, I want that bicycle. That was my takeaway. Yes, I want the bicycle. I want to be able to go pedal on water because that just seems like an amazing ability. I don't know who this guy is. I just know him as the Admiral. He says, what is it? Giving Luffy a message from Smoker, but states it would be too confusing. Would not be able to hear him since he was frozen. So they brought up Smoker again too. That stood out. And the only reason the Admiral spared him is because they removed Crocodile, which was another issue for them and for the Navy. So it's kind of like, okay, we're good now. I could have just killed you, Luffy, but I'm going to leave you here frozen instead because Smoker has a message for you and you defeated Crocodile for me. So we're building up more stuff. We've got a lot more stuff going on. And I was excited to kind of get back on track with the story because, like I said, Skypiea was fun. I enjoyed it, but it just felt like we kind of like went around. And it would build up the world. We're already touching on stuff, getting the dials and stuff like that. But this just felt like we were back on the main story. Get to the Grand Line, deal with the admirals, the Navy, build the crew, that kind of a thing. Oh, in the notes here, there was one thing that was brought up, and I don't know what this goes to, but they do mention Luffy's grandfather, and the Admiral knows who he is. That's pretty much all that came out of that. They didn't go into it because Luffy wouldn't explain, so I'm kind of okay with that. Overall, I thought this was like a fun kind of decompression arc. From what I understand, Water 7, which is what I'm going into next, is a massive arc. It's got like so many chapters. We'll probably have to do 2 videos for that one. But going from Skypiea, which was like 60 chapters, to Water 7, which I think is like 70 chapters. I looked at it early on. I don't know what it's at now. But Skypiea, Water 7's a large one. Having this nice little 20 chapter break in the middle where the crew just gets to be fun, goofy, and have a good time felt good to me. I enjoyed it. I really liked it a lot. Now, I did want to talk about real quick what I mentioned at the beginning, which is that I have been looking at the comments to an extent, and there's a few that I've noticed, and I just want to comment on this. A few of you guys have mentioned things like, go watch Totally Not Mark's videos on One Piece, or go look at this, or how did you not understand this part? The whole point of this series is that I have never experienced anything One Piece. I want to clarify that because I don't think I ever did. There's a few anime and manga series that I never got involved in at all. I never got into the fandom. I never checked into any of it. There's reasons behind each one of them, but it was primarily I never got into One Piece. I never got into Naruto. I never got into Bleach. Those are the 3 big ones that everyone loves. Oh, yeah, Bleach, and then it's the one with the white fox ears guy, Inuyasha. That's another one. I never got into those series, like ever. And I've always managed to stay away from the fandom because I had no interest in the series. So the whole point of this video series is this is my first experience in One Piece. meaning these are my takeaways. Certain things like certain speeches or certain reactions from the characters might not hit me the same way that they hit you. In watching videos like Totally Not Mark's videos would start to impose his opinion onto me. And I would have different takes and different stories, and it just wouldn't be this video series because I would start getting other people's opinions, which will change my opinion. It's human nature that when you start hearing different points of view, you're going to change your point of view on things. I mean, that's literally what a political debate is. You're trying to get people to change their point of view on things. Even if it's unintentionally, even if I'm watching them passively, going through things like other YouTubers' videos, or looking at what people consider to be the big moments and how it affected them are going to change my reaction. And the reason I'm avoiding everything is you get my raw reactions. Maybe that speech or that moment didn't hit me the same way that it hit you. Or maybe something like, I enjoyed a portion of a storyline that you didn't. But by having no other opinions, I get to have my opinion and my take on everything. The only person I talk to about this is my friend Kevin, and that's literally after I've read it and I've already formulated my opinions. We only talk about stuff that I already have my opinion of what I want to talk about in the video. And like, it kind of irritates him because I can see his face, like we'll be talking and he'll just be like, I want to tell you what's going to happen next, but we've agreed to not do that. But you can see it in his face. He just wants to talk about it all. And I enjoy it so much. But that's all. I just wanted to mention that real quick. You guys can keep recommending other videos and keep recommending other ways to consume One Piece. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep reading it blind. And then occasionally I'm going to pop up the anime to kind of get a better take on some of the fights, or maybe see something that I missed, or maybe hear the speeches done better. But this is how I'm going to handle it, and I'm going to keep doing this because I'm having a blast, because this doesn't even feel like work to me. I'm just enjoying doing this. And then I'm enjoying making these videos and seeing your guys' reactions to my reactions. And if you want to see what's going to happen next, make sure you like and subscribe, because hopefully I'll have at least half of Water 7 done by the next video, which should come out in about a week to a week and a half. And if you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, we can see how I felt about Water 7. I did already start it. The water train thing is cool. That's all I got. I'm like 3 chapters in. The water train fight running into the sea creature thing. Anyway, thank you guys so much for your continued support. I really do appreciate all of your support getting Mangastorian to where it is and helping it continue to grow. And thank you for enjoying what I have been creating here. When we started this series, I didn't know if you guys would care, but I'm just having a blast talking to you about it. See you guys next time, right here.